So, Paul, in your podcast episodes, you talk a lot about the personality of a business. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Well, that really goes back, and I just remember as you were asking me that, I just remembered many, probably more than 20 years ago.
Hmm.
I was on a makeshift panel in front of maybe 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me at the last minute because someone either canceled or didn't show up. I forgot. And we were talking about small businesses and um, how to be successful where you're in the same neighborhood as another small business
Mm-hmm.
that does the same thing that you do. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the example then was a dog grooming service,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first time that I ever really talked about, and it was just a really impromptu answer. And I said, you have to make your business different than the other business. You both do grooming of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You both do, you both sell food. You both sell blah, blah, blah. But what's going to make your business different from
Mm-hmm.
anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
And I answered it, and that's the first time that I used the word business personality.
Love it. I
And I
love it.
totally forgot that until you just asked it. So I'm glad that you asked it.
No, because you say it in a lot of the episodes, and now that you're unpacking it, I'm thinking a lot of people have been using the acronym USP, unique selling. What is it, proposition or something? It's supposed to be like what makes
Never
you,
heard of it.
exactly what you just said. What makes you? I need to look it up now. USP, unique and unique selling proposition. Yeah, unique selling
Hmm.
proposition. And it's that thing of what makes you unique in your business, what makes your business stick out. But describing it as business personality to me resonates so much more than USP, which just sounds like USB, which makes me think of computers. I mean, it
Right.
just there's no personality to the acronym USB, USP. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So business
Exactly. Yep.
personality, it's almost like you don't need a definition. It's so clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how I think every business, if you really want to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
has to be unique. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, you can be unique by
Mm-hmm.
selling a product that nobody else sells, but that's
Mm-hmm.
that's very difficult to do. Um, because once you sell it, then your competitors are going to say, "Oh, he or she is selling that item.
Yeah.
Maybe I should sell it too." So that's a short-lived solution.
Mm-hmm.
The long-lived solution is to use what makes you as a human being different
Mm-hmm.
and convey that to your clients. So if you have a walk-in, you have a brick and mortar store, or you have a website and people are buying a product from you, then put personality into that
Mm-hmm.
website, put personality into the actual brick and mortar business. If
Yeah.
you're a service business, it's easier because you are providing the
Yep.
service.
Yeah. And that business personality carries over into my side of this business world, into the marketing side and the outreach side and the community side and all of that, because once you get your personality into those things, then people can know, similar to what we're doing with the podcast and YouTube channel, people know your personality, they know how you work, they know all those flavors, and they go, yes, I would like that. And it's a much easier
Right.
conversion to become a client.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's something that I thought about when I first started the business
Mm-hmm.
in 1994 and 95
Mm-hmm.
is is what I mean, it's bookkeeping. How can you really,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to make me different
Mm-hmm.
than any other bookkeeper out there?
Yeah.
And I determined, well, I have to go out to businesses. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
people coming to me. And I did for years.
Yeah.
I carried my heavy laptop back in the
Yeah.
1990s, and not like
They
these
were
things you put
clunky
under
back
your.
then.
Oh, I had a 15-inch, and it was probably 5 pounds.
Whoa. Yeah,
And it
at
was
least.
it was solid metal. It wasn't
Yeah.
plastic. It was heavy.
Uh,
And I was tired at the end
yeah.
of the day, and I was in
Yeah.
my 40s.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went to client after client after
Mhm.
client. I lived in the subways, just
Mhm.
about. Um, and no other bookkeeper really did that. at that point. I mean,
Mhm.
people were starting to do things remotely,
Mhm.
or they would have a small office, and people would come to them. I went out
Mhm.
to people,
Mhm.
and that was one of the first
Wow.
things. And then I didn't just sit there and do my bookkeeping. I
Mhm.
let them know my personality, and
Yeah.
I became part of their business. I
Yeah.
became a cog. I wasn't an outsider.
Mhm.
I actually participated in some um, office gossip,
Mhm.
because they
Mhm.
kind of let me in that door. One of my first clients, I was part of that whole gossip mill, and it worked.
Yeah.
And then I just continued doing that,
Mhm.
and it built and built and built. But
Mhm.
for me, even being a bookkeeper, personality is a big part of it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
now I think my personality has changed.
Mhm.
I'm not kissing butt as much as I did at the beginning. Um, I am a lot more.
Mhm.
Um, what's the word? I'm a lot more.
Laid back?
No, I'm
Oh.
more. I'm
No, not laid
asking
back.
people for more. I'm the opposite of laid back.
Mm.
I'm getting much more strict, because
Ah.
now it's Zoom, now it's phone, now it's
Mhm.
email. So I'm not going out to clients anymore,
Gotcha.
because half of my clients are working out of their home.
Yeah.
They don't really have offices anymore. So now, if I ask for something in email,
Mhm.
and it takes more than 2 hours,
Mhm.
I am right on them to
Mhm.
get me the answers that I need if they want
Right.
their books.
Okay.
Where being in their office, I could walk over to someone else and say, "Well, can you get me something?" And they
Yeah.
would stop what they're doing and they would get it.
Right.
Now it's a different world.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So I don't know if I would say pushy, but it sounds like you have clearer boundaries and you're more of like, you're more professional or less, I don't,
Yeah, most of the
yeah.
time. I mean, I have my blow ups with clients, which I talked about in a podcast episode. I had a big blow up last October.
Yeah.
And by the way, that blow up that she walked away from me and I walked away from her, like, at the
Hmm.
same time.
Sure.
Um, just I think it was Friday,
Hmm.
6 months later, I got taken off their access of their QuickBooks Online. It took them
Mm.
6 months to get another bookkeeper, and I'm
Wow.
sure no bookkeeping has been done in 6 months. I'm sure.
Oh, that poor bookkeeper. Or that, well, maybe not. That would be a lot of business, though, wouldn't it?
Well, it would,
For
but
them to,
it's a
yeah.
lot of work. They were not
Yeah.
easy books. So I
Wow.
do blow ups. I have less patience than I used to.
Right, right. So
Not that I
when
don't have patience, but I have less than I used to.
I think that's normal. I mean, the more you do something, the better you get at it, the less, I don't want to say the less flexible, but the less, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, the
The
more
more you
regimented.
know. Yeah, and the more you know how it can go off the rails if you don't hone it in. So in a way,
Right.
you're helping your clients by having those rules and those boundaries. Because if it,
Well, that's what I'm
yeah.
trying to do, but
Mm-hmm.
also that fits in with the other question that we were talking about, is reevaluating the business, and trying to figure out what kind of client is easier to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
without having these problems,
Yeah.
without having the back and forth, getting information, or getting information incorrectly, or having a client in February of this year tell me that they had a Venmo credit card account, which I didn't know for the entire year of 2024. And
That's
I
not
made
good.
them and I made them go on an extension. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go through this, because it
Yeah.
can't be downloaded, and they are 40 pages, 40 transactions a month
Mm-hmm.
times 12,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna do this in February.
No.
And luckily, the client said fine. They didn't have a problem with it, but I put
Yeah.
my foot down. These sorts of things never happened in the past. People have changed too. It's a
Yeah.
different generation
Yeah.
now than when I started.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
So people's attitudes are different. People are running businesses differently. And that's one of the ideas of the podcast when I first started it,
Mm-hmm.
is to let people know what
Mm-hmm.
a traditional older bookkeeper thinks, how we think, and how it kind of used to be done,
Right.
to see if we can get back to that idea.
Hmm.
Is to trying to have a communication with your bookkeeper and having a communication with the accountant,
Hmm.
because that diminished a lot.
Hmm.
And that's not since COVID. It diminished a lot since probably 2000, well, since about 9/11 is really when
Yeah.
it started. I think people's reality kind of changed, and I think people's priorities changed.
That's a really good point. I feel like a lot of things online, a lot of things in person changed because online got so much more prevalent around that time. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's coming back. I feel like people are doing things to get, like we were talking about digital detox a few minutes ago. I feel like people are doing a lot of things to get more offline, to have more conversations or more transactions, more things in their life in person. And I think we're reverting back to like good human behavior, whereas we were getting so digital that I think we were getting slightly impersonal for a while. So it feels
Well,
like,
I don't see that yet, but I
hmm.
hope you're right, because I
Yeah,
think
well,
that's what we need.
it's a slow process to unwind, especially those who grew up with this kind of fast digital and personalized stuff. Anyway, yeah, it'll take a while to find that middle ground where we are digital and still personal at the same time, which is a hard thing to do because the screen is not the same thing as being in person.
Yeah, it's not.
No,
It's
no,
not.
definitely not. But